But today, we're going to investigate the darker undertones of the unsolved mysteries that have left all of us with question marks dancing over our heads for decades. But before we begin, if you like what we do here and want to support the channel, please give the subscription button as well as the bell icon a big Master Sword pedestal plunge to never miss when a new video drops. Thank you in advance, so without further ado, let's begin. Was it Zant who actually killed Ganondorf in Twilight Princess? Now this has been one of the biggest mysteries in Zelda for a long time. The infamous Zant neck snap that silenced the Demon King dead on his feet. Was it the Master Sword through the ribs that did Ganondorf in, or was it Zant himself who spelled his doom? Before I can give you my own theory behind this scene, I think it would be better to give you some backstory just for context. After Midna and Link acquired all 4 pieces of the fused shadow as well as imbued the Master Sword with the sacred light of Twilight, Link could now undo the dark curse afflicting the peaceful denizens of the Twilight Realm, turning them back to their normal selves. When Link and Midna finally confront Zant in the throne room of the Castle of Twilight, Midna teases Zant at how ironic it was that the dark magic curse that he had placed upon Link had also allowed them to overcome all of the dangerous monsters and hardships they had faced in both the realm of Twilight and the world of light. Getting up from his throne, Zant decides to tell Link and Midna about the origins of his new magic and why he chose to usurp the throne of the Twilight royal family.
The people of our tribe, a tribe that mastered the art of magic, were locked away in this world like insects to a cage. In the shadows we regressed so much so that we soon knew neither anger nor hatred, nor even the fainted bloom of desire. And all of it was the fault of the useless do-nothing royal family that had resigned itself to this miserable half-existence.
Zant was so angered by his people rejecting him, as well as the passivity of the Twilight royal family, he was literally panting with rage. The reason he stayed on in service of the Twilight royal family for the time that he did was because he believed that he would be chosen as the next ruler of the Twilight instead of Midna.
It was then, in the thrall of hatred and despair, that I turned my eyes to the heavens and found a god.
Ganondorf possessed Zant's body, housing not only his powers, but his consciousness as well. Weakened after being impaled by the light sword, Ganondorf needed a willing vessel and found one in Zant. Ganondorf had lost his physical body when he was sent to the Twilight Realm after killing one of the sages during his botched execution attempt at the Arbiter's grounds. When Midna destroyed Zant's body, Ganondorf's consciousness was reawakened and released from dormancy, but now he inherited the power of Twilight that Zant possessed. After making Zant pop like a bubble with just a fraction of the power of the fused shadow, Midna decided that it was time for her to return the power Zelda had used to save her life. Upon returning to Hyrule Castle, they find a reconstituted Ganondorf sitting on the throne while an unconscious Zelda floats high above him. He then possesses Zelda's body, which leads to a pretty cool boss fight that is a direct nod back to the Ganondorf boss fight in Ocarina of Time. After Puppet Zelda is defeated, Ganondorf transforms into his beast form, which can warp through portals, attacking from different vantage points around the throne room. If you haven't already figured it out, this boss fight is of course a nod back to the Phantom Ganon boss fight in Ocarina of Time. Anyway, once Beast Ganon is defeated, Ganondorf reverts back to his spirit form, which fused Shadow Midna tries to destroy once and for all. But in a clash of raw power against Ganondorf, Midna is defeated as Ganondorf reappears now on horseback and crushing the remnants of the fused shadow in his grip. I theorize that during their clash, Ganondorf was able to possess Midna and absorb the power of the fused shadow to give himself a body once more. As Link and Zelda ride around shooting Ganondorf with arrows of light to weaken him, Link can then use the Twilight-imbued Master Sword to attack him. After Ganondorf is defeated on horseback, he challenges Link to a one-on-one sword fight. Now this fight is one of the best in the game in my humble opinion. After Link knocks Ganondorf onto his back and plunges the Master Sword into the wound in his chest, Ganondorf staggers to his feet as his Triforce of Power starts to go dormant again. This is why I believe that the Master Sword was not what ultimately killed Ganondorf. Without the power of his piece of the Triforce, Ganondorf could no longer hold back Zant's consciousness. My theory is that with Ganondorf being out of power and about to die, Zant had finally understood that he was not a god, and so Zant no longer worshipped him as one. Coming to this realization, I believe Zant actively chose to break his own neck, ending his and Ganondorf's life for deceiving him. – Just who exactly were the Interlopers? The darker iteration of the creation story of Hyrule inside Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is the best portrayal of the story in my humble opinion. We first heard about the golden goddesses who created the land of Hyrule in Ocarina of Time, but in Twilight Princess, we get a much more detailed view into the chaotic world of Hyrule during its ancient times. This makes sense considering Twilight Princess does take place in the era of chaos on the Zelda timeline. During ancient times, after the golden goddesses had finished creating the land, air, and everything else that made up the vast world of Hyrule, they returned to the heavens, but not before leaving a relic known as the Triforce. And the land where the goddesses first descended came to be known as the Sacred Realm, which housed the Triforce. The Triforce represented the virtues of each of the goddesses, such as wisdom, power, and courage. For ages, the people of Hyrule lived in peace and harmony. But when word spread about the Sacred Realm, that peace came to a fast end as many terrible wars erupted between the various tribes that populated Hyrule in the hopes of claiming the Sacred Realm and the Triforce for themselves. This is truly one of the scariest and darkest scenes in Zelda hands down, as it emphasizes the darkest aspects of human nature in terms of coveting power to such a degree that innocent blood is spilled. Anyway, among the Dwellers of Light there was a tribe that at that time was called simply the Interlopers. The tribe excelled at magic, which gave them a major advantage over the other warring groups. They created the Fused Shadow, which at that time was one single device with awesome godlike power. With the Fused Shadow in their arsenal, the Interlopers would try to establish their dominion over the Sacred Realm. Now here's the really cool part. When the Golden Goddesses had had enough of the power-hungry Interlopers, they ordered the three Spirits of Light to intervene and subdue them. Since the Fused Shadow was too powerful for the Light Spirits to destroy outright, they broke it into 4 pieces and sealed them into each of the temples they guarded. As for the Interlopers themselves, the scene would suggest that they were destroyed by the Light Spirits, but I don't think this was so. To support my claim, I cite their invention of the Fused Shadow itself. Our good imp companion Midna is the descendant of those who made the Fused Shadow, so it is safe to say that the Interlopers are the progenitors of the tribe that we now know as the Twilight. Over time, the Interlopers and their descendants became peaceful denizens of the realm of Twilight. In fact, Midna all but says this when she lectures Zant on why the Twilight did not choose him as their next leader. They saw the lust for power in his eyes, which is what got the entire tribe banished to the Twilight realm to begin with. And since the Twilight were bent on not repeating the mistakes of their ancestors, they would never choose a leader that would lead history to repeat itself like Zant would have done. Just who, or rather, what are the children found playing around the tree in Majora's Mask? When Link finally gets to the top of the clock tower to confront the Skull Kid, after stopping the possessed Skull Kid from dropping the moon on the people of Termina by calling the Giants, Majora decides that the Skull Kid has outgrown his usefulness and detaches itself from him. This reveals that the mask was completely sentient all along. Majora then enters the moon, taking control of it manually, causing it to start its descent again as the giant's knees buckle under the sheer weight of the moon. Link is then sucked into the mouth of the moon as well, via the column of energy that Majora used. Inside the moon, we get a very unexpected scene. We see a beautiful and serene open field with perfectly green grass as far as the eye can see. The sky shines the clearest of blue, with soft clouds only accentuating the peaceful and serene calm of the overall world. And in the distance, there is a single giant elm tree standing erect on top of a hill. And upon reaching the tree, we see 5 children running and playing. Now, of course, they are no ordinary children, mind you. The first thing to take notice of about them is that each of the children is wearing the masked remains of each of the bosses we defeated in the game. Furthermore, if we look closely at them, they have quite a lot in common with a certain very creepy mask salesman. They all have his red hair, and wear it in the same style as he does as well. If you speak to each of the children, they will ask for different amounts of your regular masks and then transport you into a mini dungeon that corresponds to whatever boss mask they are wearing. For instance, if you speak to the child wearing the Georg mask, he will ask for several of your ordinary masks before suggesting you play a game of hide and seek with him. At the end of the mini dungeon, you will find the child waiting in a room. If you speak with him once more, he will ask for, you guessed it, more masks. After his need for masks has been slaked, he will ask you a cryptic question about whether doing the right thing makes everyone happy. Then he will transport Link right back to the field for Link to move on to the next child. Link goes through the same thing with each of the children as he gives away all of his masks he collected. Going through this whole process, I think what should be taken note of about each of the children is the questions they ask after Link completes each of their mini dungeons. These questions don't seem to be posed towards Link per se, but rather are thoughts the children are already grappling with internally. This is why I believe that each of the children are the personification of Majora's different feelings and personalities that were separated by its evil and chaotic side. They became the bosses we faced inside each of the dungeons, and upon their defeat, they were purified into the children we now find playing around this tree. One other thing to take note of is that once each of the children have had their fill of masks, they disappear into some unknown place until the only child left is the child sitting by himself wearing the Majora mask. To support this notion, I will cite how the Majora mask-wearing child responds to Link when we talk to him after all the other children have vanished. He asks, "All the other children have gone. Will you play with me?" He only wanted to play when the others were no longer there, which is odd since he could have just played with the other children. Furthermore, Majora no longer seemed as depressed now that the other pieces of his personality returned to him, and notices that Link has no more masks to share, so he decides against another game of hide and seek and tells Link they are going to play a game called Good Guys Against Bad Guys, and then rewards Link with the Fierce Deity mask since he considers Link to be the bad guy. Now this really raises a very serious question. How did Majora get this mask, and what does it mean for the Happy Mask salesman and the children who resemble him? I think the Fierce Deity mask is most likely the personification of the power that kept Majora dormant up to this point. The term Fierce Deity is used to refer to several deities in the Shingon Buddhist pantheon who are wrathful towards evil spirits and protective of humans. So this pretty much explains why Majora would consider whoever wears this mask to be the bad guy. As for why the children resemble the Happy Mask salesman, I believe Majora did this because after being sealed away so long, the Happy Mask salesman was the very first person that Majora had seen in ages. I think it was in some ways lonely after having spent centuries sealed away by the tribe who used it in their hexing rituals. I also believe that the mask salesman must have been very skilled as a sorcerer because he specialized in the collection of rare and powerful masks. I don't particularly have a way of proving it, but I think it may have been him who applied the blessing of the Fierce Deity mask to keep Majora sealed and dormant. The reason the children look like the Happy Mask salesman could be that Majora had respect for the salesman while at the same time viewing him as bad, and since Majora modeled its personification of its personality, i.e. the children, after the salesman, Majora must have also viewed itself as bad. In the wicked, twisted mind of Majora, good is bad and bad is good. Remember folks, Majora is a very psychologically chaotic mask being. Ikana Canyon. Why did the dead not rest in peace after the curse was broken? At the end of the game, we see King Ikana and his servants still hanging out in the throne room of Ikana Castle. But why were they there after the curse was broken? Why do they still linger? Ikana Canyon is known throughout the land of Termina as a place where the dead walk around freely, and it is very dangerous for living beings since restless spirits linger there full of regret and hatred. Not that most people have been able to access the canyons, mind you, especially considering how perilous the journey to the canyons really are. The entirety of Ikana Canyon was once home to the proud Ikana Kingdom. So, after overcoming all the puzzles and side quests that must be done to access the castle, Link finally makes it to Ikana Castle, where he meets the undead ruler of the kingdom, Egos Du Ikana. Once the undead king and his servants are soundly vanquished and their spirits have been freed from their corpses, Ikana explains what the source of the curse is. Apparently, someone had opened the stone tower, releasing the curse from within, as if we didn't already know who actually did that. King Ikana then asks Link to reseal the tower to stop the curse. The stone tower is an impenetrable fortress. By King Ikana's own admission, hundreds of his own forces failed to breach the tower's defenses. He then goes on to teach Link the elegy of emptiness, which creates this doppelganger of Link that is like pure nightmare fuel. Its hollow stare is like super off-putting. Anyway, we will need this song to bring light back to the Ikana Kingdom and put the restless souls of the dead to rest once and for all. Upon defeating Twin Mold, which is a hell of a lot easier to do if you acquired the giant mask, the curse that afflicted Ikana Canyon and what was left of Egos Du Ikana's ancient kingdom was finally broken. However, some spirits did not go to their final rest after the curse was broken. In actuality, we mostly see evil spirits disappear back to nothingness, such as the Gibdos that surround the music house. So I don't think it was necessarily the curse from the stone tower that completely kept all of the spirits lingering in the world of the living. I think the curse functioned more as an influence on the minds of the spirits rather than an actual anchor to the living world. Let's take the giant stall kid Captain Keaton for instance. He has remained loyal to King Ikana and his kingdom as a proud member of the Ikana army and defended the kingdom even in death. Only when he was defeated by Link did he come back to his senses, and he asked Link to let the other soldiers know that the war was over and they could all rest in peace. This was also true for Egos Du Ikana himself. Upon his defeat, he was snapped out of the trance of his own anger and regret. If anything, this shows that the curse was more of an evil influence that bewitched the minds of the spirits rather than holding them forcefully in a state of living death. Under the influence of the curse, the souls were trapped in their past, thinking that the war that they were in before the demise of the kingdom was still going on. This put them in a kind of limbo that did not allow them to rest. Twin Mold's influence, and by extension Majora's influence, turned the dead soldiers' strong sense of duty against them and used that to trick the spirits into anchoring themselves to the world. When we destroyed the curse by destroying Twin Mold, Majora's influence no longer had any effect on them. The spirits could still linger, but this time they can do it freely and peacefully, with all of the evil spirits gone back to oblivion. The ghost soldiers in Twilight Princess. Are they actually dead or just beings of Twilight? What is the Twilight Realm? Now this is one of my personal favorite mysteries to talk about. The ghostly soldiers that we see popping up in different locations of the map, such as the graveyard in Hyrule Castle or the underground sewer network under the castle, as well as places that have been the site of great conflicts that cost many people their lives, when we encounter them, they can only be seen by Link when he is in his wolf form. If we take a closer look at them, they are quite scary to behold, making you think that they are an enemy at first glance, but this is quite the contrary. The ghostly soldiers are not malevolent in the slightest, but are actually very helpful as they will guide Link onto the safest path out of danger. As for why they do this, I'm thinking that they lost their lives in the spot where they linger and want to spare others of befalling the same fate. Now what is interesting about these ghosts is that when the area is covered in twilight, these ghosts can be seen normally without Link having to use his wolf senses to see them. This phenomenon brings two questions to my mind. What truly is the Twilight Realm? Is it the afterlife, or about as close as you can get to it without actually dying? To hopefully answer these questions, I think we should compare what the ghost soldiers look like opposed to what living people trapped in Twilight look like. The ghostly soldiers appear to be completely translucent. You can see completely through them, and their pupils are milky and lifeless, so we know they are completely dead, while a living person who has been covered in twilight is not translucent. They look solid but appear like ghost balls in the world of light. Furthermore, while trapped in twilight, living people wander around scared and confused, reliving what they were doing at the time before they entered the Twilight Realm. So twilight seems to hold living people in limbo as if they were lingering spirits. This is actually what the ghostly soldiers and living people shrouded in twilight have in common. So I think it is safe to say that the Twilight Realm is a world that teeters on the brink of life and death, kind of like a precipice world where both the dead and the living can enter and convene. To further support my claim, I will ask you to consider the Mirror of Twilight at the Arbiter's grounds. The sages used it to banish Hyrule's greatest and most evil criminals directly to the underworld, so the world of Twilight is definitely not a place where the living usually enters. The ghostly soldiers are not technically in the Twilight Realm, but linger in the world of light as shades. However, they can be freely seen when the world is bathed in twilight. So this further validates that the realm of Twilight is indeed on the ghostly soldiers' plane of awareness and is the spirit world. So in a way, the Mirror of Twilight is a bridge between the world of the living and the dead. The Court's conclusion. And that brings us to the end of this video. Truly, I have not even scratched the surface on all the amazing mysteries found throughout the world of Zelda, and if I had tried, this video would be way too long. In the future, I might make a video outlining many more Zelda mysteries, but for this one, I picked a few of my personal favorite Zelda mysteries and tried to provide a legitimate answer for them with the information I gathered on each of the subjects. These are of course my own theories, so you're free to come to your own conclusions as to what you think solves any of these mysteries. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and some of the theories I have come up with to resolve these unanswered Zelda mysteries. So tell me, which Zelda mystery featured in this video did you enjoy the most? And which Zelda mystery that I didn't cover in this video that you would like to see included in a future video? I truly would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And if you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon to never miss when a new video drops, as well as drop us a like and a comment even if it's just an emoji. It helps us out tremendously, guys. And for you generous supporters who want to go that extra mile to help the channel, you can join Chrisbkingdom, the fellowship over on Patreon if you want to support me as a content creator, as well as get access to exclusive content and other perks. In the coming weeks, I'll be posting more and more content for all of the members to enjoy, so check it out at your earliest convenience. Well, that's all I've got for this one, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day and be sure to join me on the next video. This has been Chris of Chrisbkingdom. The council is dismissed.